Hey, what's going on, Headliner Nation? Kyle coming to you from the Draft.com studios with a breaking news episode of the Fantasy Headliners. Literally jumped out of my shower, threw some clothes on, and ran out here when I heard my phone go off, finding out that Antonio Brown is signing a one-year deal with the New England Patriots up to $15 million and a $9 million signing bonus. Now, at this point, that was broken by Adam Schefter on Twitter from ESPN, but at this point, we also know that he will not be playing this week. So, we're going to continue to move forward under the same impressions that we did with the New England Patriots headed into this game. We've talked about it on all of our start and sit shows this week, so if you have questions there, feel free to refer back to those or check out the live show at any point this week before kickoff. Now, with that being said, we need to discuss the long-term effects of this move on the New England Patriots. Just weeks ago, when we were at the very beginning of the offseason, beginning of preseason, whatever it may be, this was a team that looked like it was going to be very run-heavy. A team that was going to constantly be running the football, pounding the football, relying on their running backs. It's completely different now, people, and this is also an offense that we have seen that has adapted to the best playmakers that they have on the field. So who is going to take the biggest hit here? Well, number one, the New England tight ends were done. There was a lot of people that were drafting New England tight ends, hoping one of them hit, and they continued to use the tight end position the way they did in the past. That's not going to happen. So don't worry about New England tight ends moving forward. This is a completely different team. We're not going to need to worry about that. They don't have Rob Gronkowski anymore. What about the running backs? Well, James White for me is going to take the biggest hit. The one thing that I see happening with James White is I see some of that volume coming down, but his effectiveness going up. All of those defensive players are going to be keyed in on, whether it be Julian Edelman, Antonio Brown, or Josh Gordon. They're going to be keyed in on those guys. And when they take a look at James White, he's going to have a ton of space to run in. So with James White, I'm going to knock him down just a little bit. I'm going to take him more towards a low-end running back 2 in PPR leagues or a high running back 3, just because, again, the volume, I believe, will come down. He's going to be more effective. It's going to lead to some big boomer bust games, though. I think you're going to put him in your lineup some week, and he might get only a few points. You're going to put him in your lineup some weeks, and maybe you get a big game out of him. So it's really going to be matchup dependent, and there's other things we'll have to look at with him going forward. Sony Michel is a little bit of a concern for me as well because I don't think they're going to be nearly as run-heavy as they were in the past. With Sony Michel, they're going to continue to use him. However, again, I don't think that they're going to be a run-heavy team, so I'm going to discount some of that value a little bit. I'm going to pull him back down. I think he's more of a low-end running back too. Again, some big games, though, for him, but I think this is going to be a pass-first offense. Now, let's talk about the wide receivers. Josh Gordon is going to stay cemented as a high-end wide receiver 2 for me. I think this helps him because he's going to see a lot of one-on-one coverage. If he can beat his defender, which he is still in game shape, people. He looks excellent. He looks ready to roll. If he can beat his defender, he's going to have some massive touchdowns this year. He's going to have some big plays. He has wide receiver 2 upside because of that. Antonio Brown is still a wide receiver 1 for me. Basically, look at it this way, folks. He's the same wide receiver. He's the same talent. Is Ben Roethlisberger and Tom Brady that far off? Not really. In terms of fantasy football, Tom Brady is still going to be able to feed all of these guys just fine. And he has tons of weapons around him, just like he did when he was in Pittsburgh. So nobody is going to be able to key on him and double coverage him because you're going to have so many other weapons to account for. He's going to be fine. He's still a wide receiver 1. I'm going to pull him from about 9 to 12, though. So wide receiver 9 to wide receiver 12. Julian Edelman is going to be fascinating to watch, though, because basically what I said with James White is what I'm going to hold true with Julian Edelman. I'm not going to knock him that much. I'm going to put him as a low-end wide receiver 2 in PPR leagues because, again, I think the volume comes down a little bit, but the effectiveness comes up because he's going to have so much room in the middle of the field to roam. Guys are going to be pulling on the field. They're going to be going downfield with Josh Gordon. They're going to have to be worrying about Antonio Brown. If you've got James White out there wandering around somewhere, then you also, at that point, Julian Edelman is going to find himself with a lot of really good matchups. So again, even if the volume starts to come down, the effectiveness is going to go up, and that's going to lead to some big games and some low-end games for him as well. But I think he's going to maintain enough value to not be nearly as boom or bust as James White. Julian Edelman, I think, can be a pretty safe play every single week. He'll have a really high ceiling, but I don't know if he'll be able to hit that ceiling. The opportunity will be there. It just depends on how much work he gets in any given week. So to recap, New England tight ends, we're not worried about him anymore. James White, we're dropping him to a low-end running back 2, high-end running back 3 in PPR leagues. Sony Michel, we're going to leave him as a low-end running back 2. I know people are going to want to jump on Sony Michel, but again, I don't think he is going to get enough volume, especially with Damian Harris still being there. I think they're going to be shifting a lot of guys in and out of the backfield. If he was the main running back, then yes, I would be bumping him up, but he's not. So I'm going to leave him as a low-end running back 2. Antonio Brown is a low-end wide receiver 1. Julian Edelman, a low-end wide receiver 2. Josh Gordon, a high-end wide receiver 2. A lot of fun things are going to happen with this offense, people. Can Tom Brady get enough volume to all of these weapons? Yes, 100%. I still believe that he can. And quite honestly, Tom Brady is probably a quarterback 1 for me now. I can't redo my season rankings because they were already due this week, so I can't put him any higher than what I had him. But he definitely can finish as a quarterback 1 this year, and on a weekly basis, even in QB1 in 1 QB leagues, definitely have to start him every single week. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a super quick breakdown. Make sure that you tune into all of our live shows before kickoff to check out what we have to say about this. Make sure that you're also watching all of our information next week. Hit subscribe to the channel, so next week when we drop more information, we can talk about this even more. These are instant reactions though, people. I haven't sat down and broken this all out and moved projections or anything like that. This is instant reactions and just a gut feeling that I'm going through right now. We're going to talk about it more over the weekend. We're going to talk about it more early next week. This is going to be a fun offense to watch. And if you hate New England, people, I'm sorry, but it's probably going to be a little bit more of the same, at least for this year. Thanks so much for tuning into the Fantasy Headliners. Really appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next episode. Have a good one, everybody.